got a flat tire on the way to the airport. They couldn't make it.
Oh, come on.
Can you imagine?
No. I'd never admit it. You'd never know if that happened.
You'd find a way to show up.
Find a way.
You'd find a way to show up. That's what real people do. All right? So, I think you got to have that kind of reputation, all right? And this doesn't answer your immediate question, but it's the answer to your question. It's like, everybody that knows me decently well, they don't hesitate if I ask them, hey, could you introduce me to so-and-so? I see you with so-and-so on television, or I see you with so-and-so, you seem to know this guy. Could you give me an introduction, please? I'd like to talk to him about blah, blah. Nobody hesitates, because they know I'm not going to ask the guy for something weird. I'm not going to make him feel uncomfortable. I'm not going to say something weird or up at all. And my number one goal, if I ask someone, hey, will you loan me your reputation and get me access to somebody that I otherwise might not be able to get access to, and then they do that for me, I need to hand them their reputation back to not only intact, but somewhat enhanced. If I ask somebody to do that for me, then I need to make sure that it's a benefit to them that they've done that. I need to make sure that their reputation or their relationship has been enhanced by the experience of that other person meeting me. That has to be my number one goal. I may or may not get whatever else I had in mind, but the number one thing has to be that, is I have to make sure if I ask somebody to do something for me, that it's a net benefit to them, that they'd be happy to do it again. Do you understand this?
Yes, I do.
And almost nobody on earth understands that. So if you're one of the people that do, that's such a tremendous asset to your life over time, behaving that way. If you just have the reputation of like, oh, if that guy says he's going to do something, he'll do it. If that guy says, if he asks me for something, I can do that for him because he's not going to f it up. In fact, it's going to be a benefit to me. And everybody answers my call. And once in a while, I don't want to say their names publicly, but a couple of guys say, Derek, you're too generous, or you're too nice, or you're, and I'm a little gruff and whatever on the surface, but people say that sometimes. You're too nice, you're too generous, you let people take advantage of you sometimes. I say, you know what? Everybody answers my call. When I text them, they all text me back. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. That's in economics talk, that's called consumer surplus. That I've provided enough of a consumer surplus to the people around me that they're like, oh, Moneyberg's calling. It's going to be a good thing. I never want somebody to look at the phone and say, oh, Jesus, Moneyberg's, oh, Jesus. They're going to be happy. If you see I texted you, people, they're happy. Nobody talks like this, but this is reality, okay? I want somebody to be happy and say, oh, Moneyberg's reaching out. I haven't talked to him for a while. They're going to take the call right away if they can. Or they're going to text me back, say, hey, I'm tied up for about 90 minutes. Can I call you in 90 minutes? Everybody does. And I don't say that in a cocky way, and I certainly don't say it in an arrogant way. I say that as like, that's not an accident. That's not an accident. I have to say no. I had to say no to a lot of things to be able to say yes to having those sort of opportunities in my life. And I say that it's worth it. And most people will never make the effort, okay? So if you want to do what you're talking about, right, you need to go find who are the important people in that industry. Who are the 5 most important people in the whole world in that space.
Understand.
And we need to get access to 2 or 3 of those people. You need to get access to at least 2 of the top 10. And then a couple more in the next 10. And if you're a good boy and you do what you're supposed to do, then you'll get access to everybody else in the whole industry, and it'll be super easy. You understand?
Yes, I do.
And if you f that up one time, then you no longer get to say, have you heard anybody say blah, 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 blah? It's like, no, they don't say that about me because I don't do it.
Yeah.
I'll be there. If I say I'll be there, I'll be there. Chael said that recently, by the way. I reached out, we talked like 2 months ago. I asked him, hey, would you come do this thing with me? Could you make time to come see me in Vegas or do a chat with the guys together? He said, yeah, I'll do it. We had kind of a casual conversation about it. I think, more than 2 months ago, sometime in October. And then I reached out to him just a few days ago. I said, hey, we good for that thing? He's like, yeah, I already told you. If I said I'll do it, I'll do it. Something like that, you know? So I don't need to follow up with him 10 times. I like those type of people. Chuck Liddell is that way. Hoyce is that way. And most of them, almost everybody's that way. Almost everybody's that way. And the ones that aren't, I just don't talk to them. Somebody else is. You know how many people want to come? I know this sounds crazy, because it sounds crazy to me too. Do you know how many people want to come train with me that are super high quality, high level people? Like, a lot. A lot. So if somebody doesn't for some reason, I'm not mad. I'm not going to talk bad about them publicly. I'm not mad at them. It's like, all right, if you're not reliable, somebody more reliable is going to fill that spot, and it's going to be great. And I don't really care who it is, honestly. Honestly, I don't care who it is. Who would you like to be your business partner? Do you give a fuck about the specific person, or do you just like the person who would be most reliable, most honorable? They show up and do the shit they say. They're useful. They're smart. They contribute. They don't fuck things up. Would you give a fuck what color they are, or what they're, if they were 2 years younger or 2 years older, or if they were bald or had an afro, or what? Would you give a fuck about any of those things? No. Would you care what their God is, if they could help you accomplish your goals? Would you give a shit what God they pray to, or don't pray to? Nobody gives a shit about that. You just want, I want people that are reliable, consistent. They're going to keep their word. They're not going to do something stupid. They know that I'm not going to do something stupid. We can trust each other. Everything's going to be good. Everything's going to be good. He said a while ago that the first time that we were around working on a choke together, and he's like, I don't know where this is going. Now he knows me a couple of years, and he knows, he hears other little chatter about me. We never trained together. We need to go train together. He already told me earlier he's coming over late February, early March. It's decided.
Done.
It's decided. By the way, that comment is as factually true as he took John Jones candy. But I decided, and he just said done on camera, so now it's done.
That's it.
So I'm practicing the most important lesson in my year so far. And having more vivid memories of how I used to bully Sean Strickland through his amateur career.
I can't wait to hear about it on
You'll hear about it
next week, yes.
More pieces are coming back to mind.
Roughly by Wednesday, I think it'll
I sit here.
Come to your Instagram account.
The story is more vivid as I sit here.
Yeah, and I just echo that. People are going to tell you, you got to handle rejection, and you got to cold call, and you got to keep showing up. And it's so easy to say, man. That is so hard to do. I used to be in sales. It was so hard. I was in real estate. We're supposed to go to for sale by owner houses that had a sign in the yard. We're supposed to pull up and knock on the door in our suit and then tell us why we should list the house. And oh man, I drive around the block, and I'm going to drive around the block one more time. I'm going to listen to this song, and then I'm going to listen to a song. I'm going to go to the store. I'm going to get a Red Bull, and I'm going to drive around the block, and then I'm going to go to the door. I mean, it was one of, I'm just going to do all of this tomorrow. It's the hardest thing, but eventually somebody's going to give you a shot. Eventually somebody's going to call you, and you must do what you say you're going to do for the price you say you'll do it by the time you say it'll be done, and that word gets around. And the world is a very small place. It's a very small place, particularly with social media. And boy, I want you to take this the right way. I met a guy one time that had a vineyard. It's the only guy that I know that's got a vineyard. To buy a vineyard, you got to have enough acreage, and the sun's got to be facing this way, and then you got to have a drainage system, and it's got to be sloped at least 45 degrees. And I asked him, what's the hardest thing about having a vineyard? He said, man, you're just planting grapes in the ground. He said, the hardest thing about having a vineyard is having your backstory on the wine. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, you plant the grapes, making the wine is easy, but then you got to tell a story about how your great-grandma was coming over from Italy on a boat that was hijacked by Somali pirates, and when they took her shoes off her corpse, they found a note in the sole of her shoe from her great-grandfather Luigi that had a recipe to the wine. So what the are you talking about? And he said the entire business of wine is the story behind the wine, of which none it's a story. It's a marketing. He said there's fictional stories and there's non-fictional stories. You've only got two choices. And he said the entire wine business is based around, he said, go read the bottle. You'll have a story about how this came over from Italy from the 1700s, and it'll say on the bottle this was produced in 2019. So I had no idea. He goes, yeah, they're grapes. You put them in the ground. He said, what do you mean? What's the hardest thing about the wine business? He treated me like I was a fool. And I never forgot that conversation. He's got this huge vineyard now. He's making his own wine. People are going out there. They're getting married and taking pictures by his thing. He's got this whole story about how his grandma came over from Italy on a boat that was hijacked by... He's got this whole story. He told me you just plant grapes in the ground. I'm just sharing for you, you know. Have your story. Stick to it. Whatever it is, stick to it.
What he said, whatever the story is, stick to it, is the same thing, different contexts. And he's talking about broader-based marketing, you know, which is not necessarily factually true. But I would say your personal brand, he's talking about branding, all right? And then building a brand that way around the grapes. I get it, makes sense. So no counter-argument, okay? But whatever the brand is, you can't contradict the brand.
Right.
If you do something contrary to the brand, you can't have brand violations. And for me, it's a brand violation if I didn't show up to the thing that I said I was supposed to show up to. So I got to show up to the thing that I said I was going to show up to. So I don't even have a choice. It's just is carved in stones, is part of my fate, is the destinies the heavens set forth for me when the Somali pirates took the blah, 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 blah. But I got to show up for the thing. That's part of the brand. And, you know, that's not a crazy marketing story. It's like, no, that's the way I want to live my life. I want to be around people that are reliable. And I really don't have much respect or care for people that are not reliable. So if I want to be around people that are that way, if you want to have great friends, you got to be a great friend. If you want people that are going to show up and do whatever for you, you know, a guy asked me recently, a hypothetical question, a guy asked me recently, he's like, you know, hey, if I called you and asked you for money, you know, how much would you give me before it becomes a problem, you know? And, you know, there's a couple of answers to that question. In general, when somebody calls me and says something about money, and I don't care who it is, in general, I say to them, oh, you got the wrong number. And I said, well, you know, what do you mean, blah, blah, blah. You know, I said, oh, when I need money, I call the bank. When I want a loan, I call my banker. So, you know, do you need, would you like me to introduce you to my banker? And by the way, if you don't have the right credit score and the right circumstances, I don't want to introduce you to my banker because it's not useful for me. It's not adding to my reputation.
You watch this video all the way through, and that tells me you're dedicated to learning more and earning far above average outcomes in your life. Congratulations for that. But now it's time to take action. If you could have earned those results by yourself, you would have done it already. My head coach has opened up a few spots on his high-demand calendar for an in-person, one-on-one strategy session to help you. On this call, we'll give you the pragmatic advice that you can implement tonight to get laser-focused on the right metrics and leave mediocrity far behind in your past. Click that link right now in the description below and apply for your call immediately. Do it now.